What's up, bro?
What's going on, AJ?
Hey, man, another day. I mean, did anything happen over the last week or so that we need to talk about, or it's been kind of boring around here?
I don't know, man. I don't know. Trump turned into Tupac.
Oh, the blacks are gonna love that.
Yeah, and then Biden bowed out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So before we get into any of that stuff, how are you? I wasn't gonna do a talk, but so much craziness is going on. I wanted to just relax this weekend and play video games. But I was just like, you know what? I think I got to speak on this real fast. And I don't know if you saw our last brought to you by Maker's Mark. Is that what you got right there? Maker's Mark. Oh, damn, I'm an alcoholic.
Yeah, it is.
It's a wax top.
Election.
Our last video got like 1,500 views.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the one with Terrence Howard. And I was like, damn, I should have had you on here.
I told you about that one, too. I was like, have you seen Terrence's math?
Well, I gave you a quick shout. I don't know if I used your name, but I was like, oh, I heard about this. My brother told me, what was up. And the first thing I said was, this dude doesn't understand the word multiply. And if you listen to Neil deGrasse Tyson's response, that's what he basically opens up with. He's like, he doesn't understand the terminology around what's happening here. And because of that, he's like all mixed up.
Yeah, I don't think Terrence's his feedback was fair.
Right.
Because, Neil took it from a perspective of a peer review of a paper. He looked at the paper and he gave logical clapbacks, right? So, R.I.P. to Terrence's math. I'm gonna go a little bit. I'm going a little bit here today.
Okay.
I don't have Jack, so I know this is a travesty. You shouldn't use good bourbon with Coke, but whatever.
Yeah. You're high class. You're basically lighting your cigarette with $100 bill,
I mean, but if that's what you have.
Yeah. That's the lowest stuff you have.
Yeah, it sounds like poor people problems is what we're talking about.
Right on.
Yeah.
So, yeah, bro, I think let's try to keep this nice and tidy because, I don't have much time and I don't want to be, every time we talk, it ends up being a 3-hour edit from me.
I know.
So I'm like,
I know. No, let's not do that. And I'm trying to get back to my NCAA football. I waited 11 years for that. So,
damn, has it been 11 years?
It's been 11 years.
Do you know? Okay, so real quick, we can eat into this a little bit. Do you know why it took so long for the college game to get back on?
It was all tied up in those NIL deals and using the college players' likeness, but not giving them any money.
Okay. Now, how do you feel about giving players money?
I mean, they make millions of dollars for these universities. Why shouldn't they be compensated? And I know some people out there are going to be like, oh, they're getting an education, right? College degrees don't go the same way as they used to.
Uh-huh.
Injuries can put them out of the league or, a tough life.
Uh-huh.
And they are generating revenue for someone. They're essentially slave labor.
And it's funny that they try to equate the like your degree. Like, how much is your degree worth? It certainly isn't worth as much as the billions being pulled into that college. So the idea that, you're getting this fair return on, putting your body on the line and like half these cats are going to have lifelong injuries and then go on to be accountants, So
like, they'll probably end up at a car dealership.
Oh, yeah. More likely. So it's just like, and then have CTE on the back end of this. So it's like, we're going to sit there and act like, oh, yeah, it's just a fair square deal. It's like, no, you're making all this money off these players. Like, cut them in a little something. Because you see these guys, their diets are like, they can't afford, actual food or eating ramen. They can't afford their living expenses on campus because you got to remember a lot of these guys are there to play sports because they come from a poor background. So it's like that's all they have. And I'm glad to see that they're actually getting some kickback on that. I'm proud of that.
It's well deserved and it's just leveling out the system.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love it. All right, so let's get into the meat and potatoes of this thing. All right, so what do you want to start with? I mean, the fresher thing is Biden, but the more, I mean, do we have to catch up on Trump, or like how? What do you want to start with?
Uh, I don't know. Let's start where it starts, right? Like,
Okay.
it's crazy. I've heard a lot of different theories and things going around about around the Trump attempted assassination. But I'll start with this, right?
Okay.
So I believe that Trump is a real life supervillain.
Sure. And I think just to let the audience know, neither one of us are Trump supporters. We don't really fox with him.
No,
He. We'll say this: had he been shot, there wouldn't be too many tears shed between the two of us. Okay.
no, I concern because
Concern.
his cult would go crazy, but
Mhm.
tears absolutely not. I don't think he's a good human being. Um, but I'm going to say this though, I was kind of disgusted by the amount of people who wished him death. Um,
Really? What did you
yeah,
see?
well, like on the social media outlets, people are like making jokes about the fact that they missed, and everybody was like, oh, we were that close to getting rid of him, and I just think wishing death upon a rival is never the proper thing to do to me. And I mean, I don't even want to go from a religious standpoint. It's just morals and values, right?
Right.
I may hate somebody, but I don't hate them enough that I wish them to die.
Hmm.
I wish his political career would die, but I wouldn't wish death upon that man. But I was real disappointed in some people on my social feeds in the way
These
that
are
they
these are
were talking.
friends and family, or is it
Yeah,
randos? Okay.
friends, families, randos. Yeah,
Wow.
and they may watch this, and I don't want to out them, but some of y'all ain't shit.
Well, I have a tendency to bleep out names and places, especially like if a person hasn't been on the show. I never put their name on there. But to piggyback on what you're saying, I think I agree with a lot of what you're saying. I think we, along with Trump, also dodged the bullet. And you scraped near it when you said it. In a world where Trump's taken out by an assassin fire, I mean, this whole thing is blown off. But it's like his group, his following, like these are people who are already on edge
Yes,
and can barely be reasoned with as far
yes,
as like, hey, Trump's doing this and you said you like this, like why are you still following Trump? Like you're already like past that point where you can't get to them. You add in the monumental event of an assassination on this guy, and we're looking at 100+ years of terrorism, guerrilla violence, even further disassociation with democracy in a way we just are. And when I say democracy, I mean like our government apparatus, not just the idea
mm-hmm.
of it. But we're in deep shit at that point. And if you're a person who doesn't believe in a God, this is something that could be used against you. Like that. Have you seen the images of how close? Have you seen any of
Oh
the?
yeah,
Okay.
chest literally like just nipped the tip of his ear. Like if he wouldn't have turned to look at that teleprompter, um, we would be talking about the riots
Yeah. Oh yeah.
that would be going on right now. And I was talking to somebody about this, and they're like, yeah. I was like, the response that we would get would be the equivalent of George Floyd, with the exception of people with arsenals and are highly trained with firearms.
And like ready and have been fear mongered into believing like this is what the deep state is going to do. And
Yep.
look, there's something to that. I mean, if you want to talk about JFK, and like some of the other coups we've done in other countries, the like 300+ times we tried to kill Fidel Castro, like it's not beyond reality. So that's kind of like the scary part about it is like, they'd have some like realistic grounding to be on, but man, we would just be in a spot where just chaos.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely. And it would be, I don't want to say it, but to me, it would be the makings of possibly a civil war type of dispute.
oh, no doubt, no doubt.
And the funny thing is, you look at it, You ask who would have something to gain from it. It's the anarchists, it's the Boogaloo Boys, it's the Antifa people. They would love to see that happen and us spiral out of control in government fall.
Yeah. So we dodged a bullet as well as a country, pun intended. And it was crazy. So one of my coworkers, her boyfriend is a cop, and she comes to my desk, and she, we briefly talk about politics every so often. She considers herself a moderate. I don't believe so, but that's a different conversation. And she's like, "Hey, do you want to see a picture of the shooter, like his body, like uncensored?" And I'm thinking like, "Oh, she just got a picture of his body, before before the news people got it. And it's just like his body, like uncensored." So I was like, "Yeah, sure, show it to me." So she pulls this picture up, and it's like a high definition image of like the shooter's face, like his upper body, bloodied, and parts of his mouth is blown off. Like it's graphic, bro. And I'm just like, oh, I didn't know you had this. So like, because these cops, they have the network where they send each other like all sorts of fucked up shit. So she just had this image of the shooter like fresh off being sniped down with his like face blown off, or chunks of it blown off. She's like, "Yeah, see where they got him? They got him like in his mouth." And I'm like, I can see that.
Have you seen all the stories, right, where they're talking about how the Secret Service was aware, the shooter was seen with the gun, a rooftop elevated position wasn't properly secured.
Yep.
They say because it was at a gradient, so they didn't think anybody would get
Which
there.
Is nonsense.
And you see all these stories, and I'm a firm believer that our government is capable of horrible things, right?
Mm-hmm. As they've shown.
And so, there is a segment that only drives the cult rhetoric further, that this was an assassination attempt by the deep state, right? When people call out, well, the person was Republican. They go, no, he wasn't. It was like he registered as a Republican in order to mess up the Republican primaries. He gave money to was it Go Blue?
I don't think it was Go Blue. It was some. So, well, I'll let you finish what you were saying. And
yeah. So I mean, either way, I think this only whips the cult more into a frenzy. I think it validates their fear of the deep state even more. I think it negates the charges or anything, because it's like, see, they couldn't get him in court, so they're going to go after him this way.
I've heard that rhetoric, yeah.
And we're in a really bad trench hole position. I think the most surprising thing to me is I was a little disappointed in collectively us, because this polls rose with Black people.
Oh yeah. No, I haven't done much research on that, but I've always been in the frame of mind that Blacks are conservative people, generally speaking, so especially socially. And if it wasn't for the Republican need to ingratiate itself amongst racists, they'd have a fair most of the Black vote over there. I mean, we're talking about religions, adherence. There's a heavy amount of just like sticking with tradition with Blacks, not necessarily keen on the LGBTQ community. A lot of that stuff resonates in the Black community, and they could have the Black vote if they just weren't so fucking stupid.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I don't like the way you say Blacks.
Niggers, coons. Jungle bunnies, I guess. Spirit chuckers. I mean, you think you're the best dancers. I'm about tired of it.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's a turn, I think, and I think there are Black people who were refusing to recognize it, but there is a subtle undercurrent in the Black community that is starting to swing back towards Trump. Now, I think this goes to the next subject. Does that current slow? if Kamala becomes the person that Trump is running against?
Well, in my mind, maybe. And I would probably say yes, because here's the thing. Black voters, just like every other race or block of voters, we're regular people. Everyone's a regular person. And people are going to vote on their feelings. They're going to vote on their vibes that they're getting. And they may vote on history. Now, we've already had a half black president in Obama. Okay. But Kamala presents a new half black female president. And black women vote more than black men. And black women may see that and go, oh, okay, this is the time to get my girl up there. Like, we about to do this thing. And I can see that being the switch over from, Trump and whatever allure he's had with, a segment of black voters. And there's already a split as far as genders. Women are going more towards the left while men are moving towards the right. So I can see that split happening along these lines too with Kamala.
Do you think she's the right choice for the Democratic Party?
No, not at all. Not at all. And we can get into that
from a winning standpoint, like not just from a personality, but we're going to put somebody up to beat Trump. Is she the person?
I don't think so. And we can get into that later. I want to hammer on Trump some more before we get to like the Joe Biden thing. But I don't think she is, and for I think very valid reasons. Yeah. But to get back on the Trump stuff, if we're looking at how the bullet missed his head, you've seen pictures of the bullet like whizzing past him. You've seen that image, right? You've seen footage of the Secret Service, I guess, seeing the shooter on the roof and not pulling the trigger. Now, apparently, they had authority to pull the trigger. They decided to wait. Okay,
for 3 minutes.
For 3 minutes?
Yes.
Oh wow. Okay, I wasn't aware of the timeline. So, and the irony behind this is, well, first off, the shooter, from what I've understood, yes, he did register Republican and he did donate to a progressive PAC. Now, the PAC I heard might have been a scam, as in these people they send out these like flyers to people and tell them you owe us X amount of dollars, pay it or you're in trouble. And so he might have not understood, so he paid it, right?
Okay.
Then some years later, he registers as a Republican, and his classmates are on TV saying, no, this dude is a conservative. I've seen him, like we've had classes together. He's always been talking about conservative beliefs. And like, I guess one of the students said that they did a thing in class where the teacher made them stand up and they would put out an issue and say, okay, if you believe with the Democrat position or the liberal position, you stay on this side of the wall. If you believe with the other one, you stay on the other side. So he was always on the conservative side of the wall. So I don't know. He didn't apparently leave a manifesto. But the other thing is they've been checking his Google searches, and he was looking up like both Biden and Trump and other famous people, and was trying to see what their schedule was. And whoever was coming to town, he was going to kill. He's looking more like a crazy person who was depressed.
I think if he was a Republican or a Democrat, I think he is crazy. And I have grown incredibly tired of everything being framed in the lens of red and blue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Crazy is crazy. I've said this before, right, Alvin? And I'm seriously concerned about this topic, right? Okay. I really want to ask the white community, what are they doing about the gun violence that they have going on with these mass shootings? Like, all right. There is some type of mental health issue going on in that community that generates these type of assassin mass shooter, school shooter, church shooter environment. As far as I can remember, the only mass shooter that I remember that just shot people for fun was the DC sniper.
Oh, that was for fun?
Yeah, he was just hanging out shooting people, shooting kids, shooting anybody. Yeah, he was touched.
Wow. I always thought he was like he was pissed or something.
He might have been pissed, and there may have been an underlying thing, but there was it was he just wanted to inflict pain upon society. And so, but even if there was more of an underlying thing, he's the only one that does it like that. You know what I mean? Like, black people, if we shoot somebody and it's a mass shooting, it's because they have bad aim.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not like they're like, I'm just going to go. If they go shoot a party up, the ops are in there.
Right. Yeah.
Right? But just randomly shooting and killing people. And I mean, I say it jokingly to begin with, but as you talk about gun control, gun violence, all of those different type of things, there is a level of mental health that needs to be addressed in how readily accessible firearms are to people with mental health issues, and how do we start doing that? You know, you start looking at the playbook that's been ran in the black communities where they have metal detectors and doggone near every inner city black school, when there's very little to no shootings in inner city black schools. It's outside. It's an extracurricular activity, right? As opposed to in this where the shootings are happening, there is no metal detectors, right? So I think sometimes our bias gets in the way of looking at things, but there really needs to be a hard look and a profiling of that group. And it sounds so crazy being a black person that's been frustrated with being profiled and having the hard look, but I think it's the goose has come home to roost.
Something like that. No, yeah, but yeah, you're right. And you and I, we've had our run-ins as far as like gun control, because you are generally against it, right?
No, gun control is two hands.
Yeah. No, and those hands are not the hands of Big Brother, correct? They're the hands of everyday citizens, Second Amendment stuff. And I'm very much on the other side of that spectrum. But it's interesting because that was one of the big narratives coming out was like, okay, Republicans by and large are anti-gun control. And now you've had a lunatic not shoot up a school, not shoot up a church, not shoot up a school, but nearly take out your dear leader. So what effect, if any, does that have on the conservatives' belief on gun control? Zero. I tend to agree. I tend to agree with that. But to speak to your other point about, general mental health, you're right. And I try to say this every time whenever I talk to someone about, black crime, which is a term I hate. And I've only hated it even more the more I think about it, because it's like black crime is somehow different from non-black crime, black shootings. It's ridiculous.
It's right up there with black jobs for me.
Yeah, right. It's like, what the hell is a black job? Getting out in that field. All right. No, anyway.
They taking your black jobs.
Yeah.
Who's picking the cotton?
Yeah, right. That's a black job for you. But yeah, so when you're talking about mental shootings, you're right. If you see a black person's killed someone, that was an op. That was gang violence. That was territory dispute. Like, there was a reason why there was a reason other than he's just pissed at the world and just decided to wild out and kill a bunch of randoms. That's not what happened. But when you think about these mass shooters, it's always they're pissed about something. You feel threatened. They're frustrated with the government or something like that. And you're just killing these random people in random spots. So there is something to be said, obviously mental health, but also just the way the media talks about things. Like the Fox News apparatus is designed to evoke these feelings in which, our white brothers and sisters are out there frustrated with the world, don't have the information needed to suss out the situation, and then with no other recourse plus mental health decide to go out and take lives.
It's a ratings machine, right? Like, I as much as I don't like Fox News, I respect the game. Okay. Right? Fair. Like, they are trying to create a news entertainment outlet. That's what they are, right? With bedazzling graphics, and they have to have these headlines that make you not turn the channel, right? So the problem is that those people don't change the channel. And so they don't have any other source except for this very tainted. I watch Fox News. I watch CNN. I watch MSNBC. Hell, I even read Breitbart sometimes, right? Don't recommend it. But
don't recommend it. I don't watch any of that shit.
Don't recommend it. But I do these things because I feel as though if you find a consistency between all of them, then that's probably the thread of truth. But if you only look from your tainted point of view, social media adds to it because the algorithm puts you in an echo chamber. So all you hear is the same stupid rhetoric over and over and over again. And we're almost brainwashing the citizens into to not researching, to not thinking, and creating this kind of mass train of thought. And they attack the shit out of people like me and you. Because, I know I'm not always a fan with other Black people when I say certain things. But it's because I call it how I see it, right? Like, there are things that we should be more accountable to and excuses we should stop making. Yeah. Like, for example, we
talk about rap music.
No, but let's not even talk about rap music. Let's talk about this. Trump gets arrested, gets a mugshot. It increases his polls with Black people.
Did that actually happen?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it's increased his polls, but Biden's has dropped. And I need to do some research on this, right? You go and you look at him getting convicted, right? Yeah. Trump then shows up to some meeting in Detroit, and by the time he walks out of there, all the Black people are yelling MAGA. Right?
Yeah.
He's taken on this image that we celebrate as people of, people who have been in jail, people who have been shot. It used to be the fastest way to blow up as a rapper is to take a few bullets.
Right.
And I'm just kind of disappointed, man. I tell you, like I hear some of it, and I'm starting to see these Trump rap songs by these random rappers. I'm seeing these low-grade rappers coming out and supporting him, and going to his press conference. More and more Blacks for Trump, when he's not the answer. He's not the answer. Now, look, if you want to be comfortable and you want to have 4 years of some financial comfort, vote for Trump. I strongly believe that he'll get in, not by policy, not by action or work, by simply being who he is, will give confidence to people with money to spend money and stoke the market.
Okay.
100%. But the rhetoric that he will spew upon us and the divide he will cause, that he'll put out there, will cause 10, 20 years worth of damage.
Okay. Well, I think you're right about this one thing. It's having that persona. And I don't know if Blacks are co-signing this or if it's just kind of in the air. But they did say, okay, cool, he's got this mugshot. The Blacks are going to like that. And there were a not small amount of Black people being like, yeah, like there weren't a lot of Black people being like, no, fuck you, man. Like, who do you think you are to be like, Black people love criminals? Like, that's what you just said. Like, that's exactly what you're saying.
Or the J6s he dropped, those shoes.
Yeah. It's like this is what they really think about us. It's like we're just this just wild group of people who just love this shit. And then so he gets shot. And so again, it came out. Oh yeah, Blacks are going to love the fact that he took a bullet. He's like 50 Cent basically now. I'm just like, no, he's not. And even if he was, we don't like. Do we really care like that? Like, does that just wash away everything you've ever said and done? So that the media talking about that, it's always been horrible.
Well, you saw how they did. Somebody did a video. Actually, a very popular YouTuber that I watch. He did a video where he took Trump and had him AI voice on the song "Many Men" by 50.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Now look, I'm not saying we always have to be conscious, and fighting the power. That's some funny shit, okay? But I think most black people understand, like, okay, this is funny, but also I'm not going to support them in real life because, like, this isn't the same thing for me, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully.
I hope so too.
Well, okay, we'll see what happens, but I'm happy to report that post shooting polling has shown that he hasn't received much of a bump, if any, from the bullet.
You're checking it out?
I already checked it, and it's saying that there hasn't been much movement because it made sense because I was talking to Caleb. I was like, yeah, man, I don't think this is gonna like ingratiate him. The coolest thing that came out of this was that picture of him with like bloody ear, fist pump, American flag behind it.
That was dope.
I mean, come on.
That was dope. It was dope. It made me feel like, and I think that made people feel like it was staged, right?
Yeah, right. Cameraman's right there, like got your perfect angle.
With the blood coming out.
I mean, that's iconic, bro. That's going to be in like the Smithsonian, bro.
That's in history books.
Yeah. So I'm like, damn, that's a cold ass picture. But at the end of the day, it's like he's still who he is. He's such a polarizing figure that everyone who's going to vote for him is already going to vote for him. Everyone who's not going to vote for him is already not voting for him. And the polling shows it. Now, what the hell the polls show? We don't. Polls are polls, votes are votes. So we'll see what happens come November. But as it stands, he was already winning pre-shooting. He's still up post-shooting. But now we had a little shakeup happen, and that's Joe Biden, Dark Brandon, has dropped out of the race. What are your thoughts on that?
I for once, I think the Democrats actually played something better than I thought they were capable of, right? I always felt as though the Democrats are poor strategically,
yes,
and lack unity, right?
Now, sorry to interrupt you, but when you say poor strategically, there's a school of thought that's like they're just bad at strategy. There's another school of thought is that they know exactly what they're doing because they had no problem snaking Bernie Sanders when they needed to. So this idea that Nancy Pelosi, 50 years in Senate, in the Congress, has no idea how to work these levers. I don't know, bro.
I would say in comparison to the Republicans, there's too many individuals in the Democrats.
Okay, fair enough.
The Republicans will sit next to Marjorie Taylor Greene and know that she's a fucking lunatic, but not say anything about it.
Yep.
Right. Yep. But what I was saying with that, about their play, is that I think after the debate they knew that Joe couldn't make it any further. Right. That was just a disastrous performance. I actually was getting mad at his wife and his inner circle because I think they should have been encouraging him to step down and not running around acting like he was still capable. I mean, there were some moments in that debate where he just looked really lost.
Yeah.
In thought, right?
Yeah.
And I think the play to wait for Trump to announce his vice president was good because I think if they would have announced this earlier, then Trump would have done a different play on who he picked as his running mate.
Oh, okay.
And so I think waiting Trump out and letting Trump announce his running mate before they put it out. Now Trump can't pivot his running mate to combat whoever the candidate is that's running.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, I think that was a decent play. If that was the play, maybe I'm giving them more credit than they deserve.
Okay.
However, I think it poses a very interesting problem. I'm seeing everybody's endorsing Kamala. I don't think, me personally, I don't think she's a winner when it comes to beating Trump in this race. I think you would need much more of a middle of the road candidate to sway those Republicans who don't necessarily believe in Trump, but cannot vote for the other side. So, when Trump went against Hillary, there are votes that Trump got that weren't for him. They just weren't for Hillary.
Right.
And as polarizing as Trump is, there are some Democrats that, through the media cycle that runs in MAGA land, they are bad people. They're pedophiles. They're satanic. They have this whole media cycle thing that's running, and I don't think that Kamala is outside of the circle of how they feel about that Clinton, Obama, Biden regime, right? I almost think it's time for them to put a fresh look in. Somebody that they haven't already taken the time to smear.
Okay. So they're waiting for that next name to pop up so they can dig up dirt or manufacture dirt about them, being horrible and corporate or elite or whatever they choose to use against this upcoming
they play
person.
A long game, Alvin. If you think about the Republicans, they play a long game. Look at how long they held up Benghazi and kept that whole conversation smoking while it was leading up to, before Hillary even said she was running, when they knew that she was a front runner. They smeared her for 3 years before she even ran, right?
Oh yeah.
They're good at what they do when it comes to this. This whole incompetent conversation they had been pushing that back from when Trump said Sleepy Joe. Right? They play a long game. I don't know how good their short game is, though.
Short game is bad, but they don't have to have a good short game because their long game is so potent. They've got this stuff, like you said, it's been in the works for 4 years, 8 years, 12 years. Like, it's been rolling forever. And listen, no one respects the Republican game more than me. But with that being said, from my perspective, and we don't have to go into it, but from my perspective, their game is only as good as the Democrats' game is bad or in cahoots with, if you believe the stuff I just said about Bernie and whatnot. Because Democrats thread a needle between not being too crazy, being with like conservatives, but also not knifing their corporate donors in the back, right? So that's their game, and that there's a finesse that's required to do that.
I just think Bernie wasn't Hillary.
Well, that too, but on top of that, Bernie was a threat because Bernie was talking about taxing rich people, which is like, that's Democrat donors as well. So they have to triangulate this, not being conservative Republicans, not being progressives, and doing things that are actually good for regular people, and thusly stabbing their donors in the back. So they have to, like, between these three, they got to go right in the middle of all that. And that, to me, takes a lot of skill.
Yeah, I think they would have stabbed him, even if Bernie didn't have that rhetoric. She wasn't a Clinton. I mean, I think she was heir apparent, and promises had been made a long time before Bernie Sanders and the lack of comb showed up.
So let me respond to what you were saying, though, about Democrats and whatnot. So to respond to what you were asking me earlier about Kamala, we have to remember that despite her being the vice president now and getting all these endorsements, back when she ran, she's someone that had to drop out of the primary because she not only did she not get any electoral votes, okay, she had to drop out before she even got to her state of California because it was looking like she wasn't even going to win her own state. Okay. So this is someone that, despite not having any real support from the American people, is somehow the vice president. Not somehow. She was put up there because Joe Biden said he wanted to. He said he'd put in a black female.
He did.
So either her or Stacey Abrams.
Promise made. Or
yeah.
Promise fulfilled. Yep.
So, and I don't like this term, but if the Republicans are ever going to use this term in a way that's actually accurate, Kamala Harris is in fact a DEI hire. because she has zero qualifications to be president. No one likes her. She's horrible if you read into like her positions on many things. And the only reason, literally, bro, that she's even in this position is because she's a black woman and she got that vice president job.
When you're talking, I'm like, I was just waiting for you to go, and she's a good dancer.
Yeah.
Brings up all the air.
Yeah. Wide nose having. But you get what I'm saying? Like, I hate I hate when they say, "Oh, this person's DEI," or they're doing like woke or whatever. Because to me, DEI is a euphemism for the N word. But no, she's up there just because she's black. So now she's in this pole position to try to win a general election when she couldn't even sniff victory in a primary. So to answer your question, I don't think she can beat Trump. I don't know how bad she'll get beaten, but I don't think she's going to beat Trump because of any merit. If anything, people would just be tired of Trump. Like, she's more likely to get anti-Trump votes than pro-Kamala ones.
I agree. I think too is that I need to do some research. From what I was told, and I need to read this in black and white, that Biden does not have the power to make her the front runner nominee.
Correct.
So I'm assuming they're going to have to run like a Democrat national convention or something. His delegates will be relinquished that was been given to him. And then those delegates then will have to vote on someone else. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, this whole conversation may be a moot point, even though he's endorsing her. It does not mean that she will be the actual candidate that ends up running against Trump. But I think this poses an absolute nightmare for the Trump propaganda machine because they don't know who to attack right now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's equal there's shrapnel everywhere. All right. Yes, the Republicans don't know who to prepare for. General elections coming up. But the other side of that bomb is that the Democrats don't have anyone they can put up just yet. They don't know who to pick. So we're all kind of in limbo. Again, this is late July. We're in this coming up. Like we have debates that need to come up. We had so this is a huge wrench in our political history right now. So yeah, you're right. Joe doesn't have the ability to just make her the presumptive nominee. I think what's going to happen. This is what I think is going to happen, and what I think should happen. What I think is going to happen is you're going to see a bunch of Democrats either in front of the scenes or behind the scenes jockey for position to be chosen as the nominee, which kind of harkens back to our original design of the Electoral College. So we're going to see how much we like that. That's a different topic. And we'll see who pops up out of that. But what I think should happen is we have enough time to actually run a new primary. And I think all names that we're running to run, we should just run a new primary. Do it over the next couple months. Send out ballots, let people campaign, do a shotgun debate, and let's go from there. Not going to happen, but that's what we should do.
It's damn it. Look, man, we are 3 months.
It's nothing. Dude, France just had a shotgun election like recently, or the UK, one of them.
Well, Canada does them all the time. I think their entire cycle is 90 days. But, man, this distinctively gives Trump an advantage, in my opinion.
Okay.
God, man, I just can't deal with his talking for 4 more years, man.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be bad, too. Agenda 2025. Have you seen that?
Yeah, but I think that's overplayed, man.
I don't know.
Listen, that's not Trump's.
His Agenda 47 is like very similar to it.
But so that they put that out every election cycle, right? And it's a Republican think tank. The president does not have to follow it. Sometimes they rip stuff out of it and use it. A lot of it they leave behind and they don't touch. So I think it's a really good point that he may be looking at it, right? That he's definitely reading it, going, because, he's lazy, so he's not going to do a lot of work. So if there's shit in there already written, he's like, I'll take that, But I don't, I think people are reading way too much into it because they put that shit out every election cycle. Every election cycle, they put that out for like the last 25 years. And it's just some random yahoos that don't actually have the power. They're just people saying this is the shit we want, right? It's like Ice Cube's, thing, the agreement with Black America thing that he put out, right? Not all Black people said we were down for that, right?
Sure. But I mean, the thing is, though, these people have the ear of, if not the president straight up, people in this, like the Heritage Foundation puts out soldiers that work in Republican administrations. So even if, and this is what kind of worries me too, is that Trump isn't a guy who's got his own policies per se. He's just picking up cues from everyone around him. So you got someone in his ear talking about, oh, we should do this, or we should enact this policy. You got your Stephen Millers, you got your Steve Bannons, this stuff that can filter through. And they're already kind of there anyway. Like, they just got rid of Roe versus Wade after like Republicans are very pragmatic. They know how to get people into the correct spots. And I don't know. I don't think it's a nothing.
I'm not saying it's a nothing. I'm saying it's not the something that people are saying it is.
Okay.
Okay. Look, here's a dangerous thing about Trump. Let's just be honest, right?
All right.
The guy has no fucking plan. He didn't have a plan the first time. He's not going to have a plan this time. His plan is going to be to keep doing what he's doing. He's surprised that he was there the first time. I don't think he really thought he was going to get elected either. And then he started trying to figure it out, right? What he does know is what I think he'll focus on. And I think he'll focus on trade. He'll continue to attack climate.
Okay.
Any climate,
like climate change.
Yeah, any climate change conversations, he'll attack it. And I'm not convinced that he absolutely doesn't believe in it. I believe he absolutely doesn't believe in it financially. And he knows that you can't prop up an industry to backfill the oil industry fast enough. And he doesn't want to be the guy that gets left holding the bag trying to figure it out.
Okay.
So, energy is a economic dud, right? Like when you go hard at that, you're going to see some impacts to your economy until you can prop up the energy economy to replace the current economy and the structure that's already there. So, I mean, and we saw it with Biden. When Biden started talking heavy energy, he started saying the electric cars and all of this other stuff. It had a ripple effect through economically through the community. On top of that, he's going to destroy the EPA again. Mm-hmm. Because once again, they regulate business, which adds cost to business. If you can make sure that business don't have to worry about upgrading costs to make people safe, then people keep spending money, right? So I think he'll do the basic things, and then I think he'll go out there and be the bully that I don't think people really appreciate. The same things we hate make it okay for him to sit at a table with Putin.
Yeah.
He's a fucking nut job, and they're nut jobs. Nut jobs respect nut jobs. Did you know, is it 5 or 6 embassies we lost under Biden?
Oh, you mean like being destroyed and
abandoned? I think we abandoned 5 or 6 U.S. embassies. Let me see. I'm going to fact check myself while I'm saying this.
Okay.
Trump's ego wouldn't let that shit happen.
Well, I haven't been keeping track on all that. I know one for sure, but I never worry about that sort of thing. And especially, I hope the president doesn't get a hair up his ass and go, "Oh, they did this to our embassy, and now we need to bomb them." Should hope our temperament's better.
No, but there is a story that I heard where Trump was meeting with the Taliban. And he was telling them, hey, look, we want to pull out of Afghanistan, but we want to do it conditionally, right? And he was like, there'll be no violence while we're trying to figure this out. And if one hair is harmed on an American's head, I'm going to kill you. And then he reached into his jacket pocket. He pulled out a sack photo of the man he was talking to's house and family.
Oh. Okay.
He cray cray. And unfortunately, cray cray respects cray cray.
Yeah. Well, listen, there's some gangster shit that goes on. I mean, no matter how soft we think an American president is, we have to remember that motherfucker does sign off on bombing campaigns. Like every president has blood on their hands, and you know that's a little Godfather-esque from Trump. But I can imagine that Democrat presidents don't need the theatrics, right? Everyone understands where we are.
Yeah, 7. Afghanistan, Sudan, Belarus. Hold on, let me try to find the rest. Yeah, but yeah.
Did it say why? Like, what? They just kicked us out, or we were attacked?
I don't know. Let me do a little bit more digging into it. This is kind of I'm looking at I'm doing a live search here, so I see this all the time in my when I'm in my red social media. They talk about this, but I've never actually fact checked it.
That's an interesting thing for them to worry about too.
Well, it leads to the narrative that Biden is weak. And because he's weak, countries are doing these things that they knew they wouldn't do if Trump was there, because Trump would fuck them up. Not that Trump would have to. They just know he would, because he's emotionally unstable and he may, just snap off. So they don't mess with him.
Okay. All right. That's fair. Wow. Well, that's an interesting metric to measure this by. But I couldn't care less. Honestly, I don't, there's too much of an American fingerprint on every country. And even if they're getting rid of the embassies, it's like, okay, well, you still got 18 military bases in that same country. So it's like, what are they really doing? But, that's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like once again I'm back to, I just hope that we get some candidate that I can believe in on the Democrat. I seriously consider not voting this year.
Ooh, no, okay. The sentiment is very. I mean, the past probably 8 years or so has been like this for me. But are you saying not voting for president? Are you still going to vote for governors and Congress members and stuff like that?
Yeah, but president, no.
Okay.
I mean, aren't we having this whole conversation about Biden and Trump and Kamala? But the real thing is that they're not. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter who any of those people are, right?
Okay.
The bottom line, what we're suffering from in this nation is ineffective government. And you can blame the president all you want, but he's the head of the executive branch, right? The people who are getting paid to pass the laws and to come up with the framework that we're supposed to operate in are lazy, and they are unseen.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't matter who we put in as president, as long as we don't do things like term limits, or really started putting a higher accountability, like when you were trying to start key people in, when you had the vision of this, and I'm pretty sure I'm saying everything that you were like, yeah, I know, Rod. When you had the vision of this, when you were putting together Civi.
Yeah.
Right? Because people need to understand how fucking lazy these people are, how much they lie, how much they don't show up to vote, right? How much that when someone says it was a Save the Kid and this person voted against Save the Kids, people don't realize the pork belly that may have been in there, that was a very good decision to vote against saving the kids.
Huh.
And overall, we as American people are the most informed, ignorant people ever.
Yeah.
And I don't really see a change. Trump's rhetoric is what makes me nervous, right? What he can push in the country, the feeling of the country. But the policies and the way things run, it's the same fucking monkey show, no matter who's in there. And like, has anybody given credit to the fucking beautiful master plan of nothingness the Republicans have done the last 4 years?
It's been brought up, and it's funny because when this first came up to me, I was still working at the Daily Wire, and Ben had just gone on an interview with a European conservative talk show, right? And this European guy, again, he's no one's liberal, he's no one's progressive, and he flat said to Ben, American conservatives and conservatism in general hasn't done shit in the last ever. What new ideas are you guys going to come up with? And Ben freaks out on the show, basically walks out. But before he walks out, he accuses the guy of being some like liberal plant, and this appearance being a setup job. And the guy's like, no, I'm just telling you the truth. Like conservatives and American Republicans haven't done anything in forever. Yet they're always having this allure of being like, we're going to make America great again. Like, no, you don't do shit.
They're the party of obstructionists. Like,
yeah,
your game plan is not working, right? It's not to let the other guy win in any way, shape, or form, and to roll back anything the other guy has done.
Right.
It's like, look at days in session this year. Or this, because of this Speaker of the House, and here's the thing, I don't buy that shit. I don't buy for a minute it takes 100 days for the Republicans to agree on anything. Those fuckers are, like I said, long game calculated. What I do buy is that when they put the border bill together, the bipartisan border bill, that looked like it was going to be a good bill and actually help people out. Trump told his people, don't do shit until I get back.
Right.
And now all of a sudden they can't decide on who their leader is.
Yeah. That's a long con game, man.
And for the viewers that may see this, because when there is no Speaker of the House, they cannot convene. When they cannot convene, no laws, no legislation, nothing can be passed. No work gets done. They spent over 120 days fighting over who their leader is going to be, meaning no work got done for 3 months.
Uh-huh. Yep.
That's crazy.
Arguing over nothing. Because it's not like who is there? There's a Gary Johnson. Well, no, it's Gary. What's his name? It's not like he's some sort of like AOC plant or something. Like, he's ride or die with these people. And Marjorie Taylor Greene tried to get him pulled off from speakership. So it's like, yeah, it's a mess. And the only thing we're really discussing.
Can me and you just do a podcast on her?
Oh, you got something to say? I mean, like, she's funny because she's a clear idiot, but she is a true representative of her district. And what I mean by that is the people that vote her in, they know what she is. They know what she's been doing, which is nothing but being a bomb inside of the Republican Party. And that's what they want. Now, as someone, we just talked about Civi, as someone who believes in representing your constituents, if that's what they want, she should be doing that.
Do you watch The Boys?
Yes, I just finished up the most recent season.
She's firecracker.
Yes. Oh, okay. Damn it. Why'd you bring this up? That show is like, okay, let's do like 5 minutes.
It is fucking genius. I love that show, man.
It's so good, but it's so on the fucking head as far as like the political satire. It's crazy. It's crazy, right?
Is it?
I mean, come on. Like, listen, I'm not a fan of conservatives, okay? But damn it, I'd be blushing writing the script, like some of these scripts on The Boys. Like, just how it's clear that they're all conservatives. Like all the bad guys are conservatives. And Firecracker absolutely is just like Marjorie Taylor Greene. And they had Victoria Newman, who was, when she first appeared on the show, she was basically the AOC.
Yes.
But then she just became a regular Democrat. And so I do like that they kind of be like, okay, well, the liberals and conservatives are in on this sort of thing for like soup control. But dude, some of those like infomercials, A Train's a movie.
Saving A Train.
Yeah.
By the way, I don't know if you saw this or heard the story. Michael Orr ended up suing them over that movie, saying that it was not a real portrayal of his life.
Oh, yeah. The Blind Side, for sure.
Yeah. That's what it's a spin off of, is The Blind Side. To me, it was like, oh, okay.
Well, I thought it just was biting off the general like white savior movie of like troubled inner city youth, immense physical talent. White coach comes in and like pulls him out of the ghetto with his mentorship, which is great. Will Ferrell, perfect.
It's The Blind Side. If you think about it, you just described The Blind Side.
But the Blind Side's been done like 100 times. Like it's like a trope.
Absolutely. And so, like, when I watch that show, it represents a couple things to me. Homelander is big corporation.
Okay. He's Vought.
Right? Vought is all of the big corporations that are fighting. And that scene, and I don't want to give it away to the viewers that may watch this, but that scene where they're in the mansion.
Uh-huh.
And you hear like the A Train. Like, could you imagine how it felt to be A Train? And you're standing in someone's house that was built on slave catchers, who then turned that into the prison system, and how he made a joke, my granddaddy would have had a hard time catching you.
Yeah. And like, oh, perfect writing. It's even better that this character, and I don't think this is going to be a spoiler, but the character is a Batman type character. Yeah. And just in case people don't know about The Boys, it's a spin-off show about superheroes and how they'd be maybe in real life, like how they would be corrupted by money and politics and so on and so forth. So every character that we know and understand in our lives, there's a parallel version of them in the Boys universe. So the Batman parallel in The Boys is a guy by the name of Tech Knight. Mm-hmm. And he's a rich, billionaire tycoon, Cape Crusader, but instead of his money, like the Wayne Foundation being this like altruistic business that helped Gotham, Tech Knight's family gets his money from generations of owning slaves.
and then being the largest
private prison, which is like, my goodness, Rod, how beautiful is that?
It's super dope writing. And I think one of the things that I found really interesting about it, because to me, it's like politics. There are no good guys in that show. And the bad guys weren't always bad. And current bad guys, some of them hate themselves for who they are.
Yeah.
But they're in so deep, the money's so deep, and the machine is running so hard that they know there's nothing they can do but get along.
Right.
But yeah, man, like, she's definitely Firecracker, right? She's just a loudmouth idiot. Knows what she's saying is complete bullshit, completely fine with it. The pedophilia shit that she says, the way that she just made the fact that this lady had an abortion, like she's the scum of the earth because she had an abortion, like and she's not shit. Like, she herself ain't shit. Like, it's very interesting. I love that show. I watched Gen V 2. Which is another.
I do want to watch it.
You gotta watch it, man. You should have watched it before you watched the fourth season, because it goes into parts of what you got in the fourth. Because Victoria Newman's a part of it.
Oh, okay.
But it's like basically superhero college.
Yeah. Interesting.
And just the lack of morals. These people who are supposed to be the ones that are taking care of us behind the scenes, they don't have any morals. None. I don't know. It's a great show. I hope they can keep the writing up and they can keep the cast together.
Well, next season of The Boys is the last season. So
I'm glad they'll do that. They should bring it to an end. I don't think that's when they should stretch out, right? Like they need to finish their storyline arc and walk away because it's too good to be sullied by just trying to get money and keep pumping out episodes that don't really do anything. But
yeah. But yeah, they do some amazing spoofs. A little too close to comfort for me because it's so like it's funny because it's hard to satire what's going on politically because it's already ridiculous. So when they do it, they don't even really add anything else to it other than just changing the names. You know,
well, the Disney approach to some things, right? Like when they're having their conference and they're talking about our lineup, you know, and they're putting on the show. It's just diabolical.
They do the anti-woke puppet show.
That song that the kid had to sing at Christmas.
Yeah.
Oh.
So I'm just like, man, like we just live in a parody world right now. And now here's the latest episode. It's like, okay, the Democratic guy who they basically rigged a primary so he could win it. Now is basically showing on stage, and I think he has Parkinson's. They're saying he has Parkinson's disease, and like looking at him, it reminded me of my dad. It was just like, yeah, I recognize the flat face, the shortened gait in his walk,
the lights are out.
Yeah. I recognize that. So it was hard to see him do that. Once I started to put two and two together, I was like, oh yeah, that's where I recognize that scene from. Like you're dimming like hard. So, but the DNC forced them down our throat. Didn't let us do a primary, and now here we are.
Have you heard the arguments that what's going on with him is elder abuse?
I've heard it, and I recognize the argument as valid. It's hard to know how far gone Joe really is to where he doesn't have the ability to speak up for himself. But you talk about his wife and everyone around him is like, maybe you should have done a bigger job. Like it's hard. You're the president. Okay. People vote for you. They want you there. It's hard to say no and recognizing yourself that you can't do it anymore. So I don't know.
Look,
final thoughts.
Michael Jordan played 2 or 3 seasons longer than he should have. Right? It is hard when you believe you're a great to realize when the greatness is gone.
Yeah.
So I can't be I'm not mad at Joe. He tries, right? He's definitely over the hill. Prediction. Trump presidency, he wins. He tries to change the law to go for a 3rd term.
Oh God.
And riots. I'm not sure what the catalyst will be, but there will be riots.
Civil war.
Some cities will burn. That's, and I hate to be so pessimistic about it, but I think we are a powder keg. And he's just a fucking sparking little short circuit, throwing flames everywhere, and it's only going to be a matter of time before it gets bad. And I really hope he gets into office because I need him to protect my job.
Okay. All right. Well,
how about you? What's your final thoughts?
I can't even project out that far. I'm just going to say my immediate prediction. We're going to see a couple names pop up from Kamala Harris, Marianne Williamson, maybe a couple of lesser Democrats come up and express interest. And we're going to have a pretty interesting Democratic National Convention. Kamala eventually pulls up with the nod, and she gets not horribly beaten by Trump, but beaten by Trump.
I didn't get a chance to ask you, and I'm sorry, I know you're trying to wrap up, but I do want to get your thoughts. What's your thoughts on Gavin and RFK Jr.?
Okay, so real quick, RFK Jr. He's got some interesting things to say, but I think he might have burnt too much of his Democratic or possible Democratic support by seemingly being a little too close to Trump and the Republicans. And certainly his anti-vax stance is something that's gonna hurt him, because he just comes up, he just like looks like a quack in front of these people.
Sounds like it too.
Yeah, his voice, and I hate to say it because I'm not someone who's too vain to be like, I'm not going to vote for someone who talks like that, but his voice is going to turn off a lot of people. There's something up with that.
I don't want to hear that shit for 4 years.
Right. So and I get it. Being president is as much as it's about policy, the optics of a leader too are extremely important, which brings me to Gavin Newsom. Now, I'm not necessarily a Gavin fan. I've done a little bit of research on him for Civi. But for the most part, I think he's every bit a part of the machine that a Hillary Clinton is or was, or to a lesser extent, Obama. But I'd be damned if that guy doesn't look the part in every way sensitive of the word. And that guy, he can debate. He's a fierce debater. He's really good, like scary good. And I think if they were to swoop him up and put him on the ticket, I actually think he smashes Trump.
Listen, I think he's the perfect fucking candidate.
I think so.
And the reason why is the Democrats don't have a choice. Whether they like him or don't like him, they're not going to vote for Trump.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he is enough of the other side to get the people who are middle of the ground to say, I could ride with this guy. I can listen to him, right? I think we need a middle of the ground candidate, though. I don't think we need an AOC, Bernie Sanders type of candidate, because I'm not looking at, it sounds crazy, I'm not even looking at values. I'm not even looking at your policy. I'm looking at who I think can win. Because Lex Luthor can't get back in office.
Yeah. Okay. Well, with that said, nobody asked for this, but gave it to you anyway. And we'll see if we're going to be in a civil war next time we talk, or we'll be heading towards a utopian oasis.
I just want everybody to keep in mind, if you're doing something and it ain't right, then more than likely it ain't Christian.
So, all right, Rod. Well, I'm gonna get up out of here. So we'll see what's going on. God save Trump. hail Lord Trump.
Many
right.
many men with death upon tea. No, man, leave the man alone.
All right, bro. I'll catch you later.
All right, then.
Later.